Of all the effects included in the new Maschine 2.3 update, the most important to discuss first is going to be the limiter. Now, the limiter is not even brand new to Maschine. It's obviously been in here since the very beginning. However, there's a new mode called transparent, which will open up by default because the old one called Legacy, you're not going to even want to be using anymore. I assure you that. Now, the reason why Legacy is still even included is for compatibility with old projects. If you're going to open up a project, you've already mixed it into this limiter and you know what it sounds like, it's going to instantiate with the Legacy mode, which has a simple threshold fader, and that's it. Let's switch over to the mix view by hitting Shift Navigate on the Maschine controller, and you'll see just a simple threshold. Now, the other thing I have on here is the solid bus comp, which is included with Maschine. And this is just going to serve to glue together. It's going to be a gentle compression. It's not doing very much, but it's just going to kind of gel everything with a gentle compression before it hits the limiter. So I've got a busier part of the track loaded up, and let's kind of take a listen. So this limiter is there to limit the audio, to make sure it doesn't go past 0 dB and we get any digital clipping on the master bus, right? Now, the other part of a limiter is that it's supposed to do that brick wall. It's supposed to stop everything from hitting. The other side of the equation is that it will increase the overall perceived volume of your track. When you pull down the threshold, everything will get louder. The difference between the loudest and softest parts begin to become less noticeable. So let's do that first. Let's pull it down until we get to the point where it's starting to distort. Getting louder. And right now we're at about negative 15 dB, and you could hear it's all kind of cracking up. It does not sound very good. It's getting distorted. You're starting to sausage that waveform. If you've ever heard that term, it's when you look at your waveform and it looks just like a full bar, almost like a sausage, because there's no variation in the dynamics, right? Now, let's switch over to transparent mode, and you'll notice a couple differences right away. You have a true ceiling output fader, which by default cannot go past negative 0.3 dB. This gives you just the tiniest bit of headroom, I guess, to make sure that you're not hitting 0 and causing any digital clipping, no matter what. Next, we have the threshold, same way as the old one, a gain reduction meter to see just how much limiting is actually occurring, and then a release to adjust how fast that limiter is reacting. So let's pull down now, and then we'll switch, and you'll notice the difference between the new limiter and the old limiter. So I don't advocate going down this far and really pushing the limiter that hard, because you can hear it starts to break up even a little bit. But the noticeable part was when I switched to Legacy mode, and it almost sounded like the bass was sucking away the entire limiting effect. And you started to get this kind of like in and out, ugly, gross, breaking up. Ugh. So that's the sign of a bad limiter. Now, just because you're pushing this hard and making it that loud doesn't mean you're going to want to do that. But just know that this limiter, this new transparent version, is going to retain the bass and be a lot more smooth, a lot more transparent overall. And so that's why you're going to want to use it. Now, the other thing that this limiter serves to do is have very low CPU resources devoted to it, because it is a native Maschine effect. And the other thing is that it's low latency. So I can still hit the pads or the keys, and instantly it sounds like you would expect. You're hitting the pad and it's triggering. Now we compare that to like a third-party plugin. For instance, I can come in here and load up a classic mastering style plugin like a lot of people might use. And this is iZotope Ozone 6. So this is kind of famous for its maximizer, which is essentially its limiter. So let's bypass the limiter here. And let's choose this mode, which is a little more intensive. We'll change the ceiling down to -3, and we'll reduce the threshold. So it's having that similar effect, except now when I play the pads, can you hear I'm exaggerating how hard I'm hitting the pad just so you can hear that delay? And it's very awkward to play with. So maybe you didn't like the old limiter, so you decide to use a third-party limiter that sounds great and works great and offers a whole bunch of other stuff, but now it's kind of unusable in a live environment or even when you're just playing because the latency is going to be so intense. So that's one of the benefits really of using just the built-in limiter. It sounds great, it works great, it does the job. You're happy to have it now. So by all means use it. Maybe you don't want to push it so hard while you're creating and mixing because it can affect how you're going to mix inside a machine, but just know that it's doing the job the way it should be doing now.